The JonBenét Ramsey case, it's a story we all know, or think we do. It's full of puzzles, and perhaps the biggest one sits right at the end of that infamous ransom note, foreign faction. Just those two words. They stand out, they make you wonder, what do they even mean? Who wrote them, and why? These aren't simple questions. The answers, or lack of them, are a big part of why the case remains unsolved. Let's really dig into those words, foreign faction. It's not just a signature. It's a statement. It's a deliberate choice by whoever wrote the note. And it's meant to do something. It's meant to scare, to mislead, to confuse. From the moment those words were seen, they added a thick layer of mystery to an already horrifying crime. The note itself is strange, right? It's long, it's overly dramatic, it talks about victory and respect. It's full of demands for money, but also this weird, almost theatrical language. And then, at the very end, after threatening to behead JonBenét and all that, there it is, foreign faction. And above it, SBTC. Okay, we'll talk about SBTC a bit later, but right now, let's just focus on foreign faction. When police first saw that, what did they think? Did they immediately picture some international crime syndicate? Some shadowy group from overseas? It's natural to go there, isn't it? Foreign means not from here. Faction means a group, often a dissenting one, a political one, maybe even a terrorist one. So, put them together, and you get a group of outsiders with a specific agenda. This interpretation would instantly broaden the scope of the investigation. It would make it about more than just a local crime. It would suggest a global reach, a sophistication that didn't quite fit the small, affluent community of Boulder, Colorado. But then, you start to question it. Does it really mean that, or is it a carefully constructed lie? Is it a smokescreen? That's what makes foreign faction so endlessly fascinating and frustrating. It could be the most important clue, or the biggest red herring. Let's break down foreign first. What does foreign imply? It could mean not American, an international group, maybe from Europe, Asia, South America, but if so, why Boulder? Why this family? The Ramseys were wealthy, yes, but they weren't politicians or diplomats or global figures in a way that typically draws the attention of international terrorists or criminal groups. They were a successful American family, active in their communities, so the idea of a truly foreign entity targeting them in this specific way seems a bit out of place, a bit forced. And if it were a foreign group, a serious one, wouldn't they have a clearer motive? Wouldn't their demands be more precise? Wouldn't there be some kind of follow-up? The note demanded $118,000, or a relatively small amount for a sophisticated international organization. It's an oddly specific number, yes, but not a huge one, and there was no real attempt to collect it. The phone lines were tapped, but no calls came, so the foreign aspect, if taken literally, starts to unravel when you look at the actual actions, or lack thereof. So maybe foreign doesn't mean literally from another country, like what else could it mean? It could mean alien or unfamiliar to the Ramseys, something completely outside their normal world. A group they wouldn't know, couldn't identify. It could be a local group, but one that wanted to appear much larger and more powerful. It could be someone local trying to make it look like an outside job. That's a classic criminal tactic, isn't it? To throw suspicion off yourself and onto an imagined entity. Now, let's look at faction. This word is interesting. It's not gang, it's not group, or syndicate, or cartel. It's faction. A faction implies a smaller group within a larger one, often characterized by dissent or division. It has a slightly political or ideological ring to it. Think of factions within a political party, or rival factions in a civil war. It suggests a cause, a belief system, maybe even a set of grievances. But what cause? What belief system? The note mentions victory and respect, but doesn't elaborate on what they're fighting for. It doesn't detail any political demands, no social statements, no manifestos. It's all about money and taking a child. So, the word faction feels heavy, significant, but again, it doesn't quite align with the simple, crude demand for cash. If you combine foreign and faction, you get this image of a dissident group from another land. A group with an agenda. But their only stated agenda in the note is money. This disconnect is critical. It makes you wonder if the author just picked words that sounded important, sounded scary, without fully grasping their implications or creating a cohesive narrative. It's almost like a child trying to sound like an adult, or someone who's only seen this kind of thing in movies or books. And that's a theory many people have about the whole note, not just the signature. And it reads like a bad movie script, the dramatic language, the excessive detail, the threats that feel almost theatrical. Foreign faction fits perfectly into that mold. It's a signature ripped from a thriller, not something you'd expect from real-world hardened criminals engaged in a ransom plot. But real criminals tend to be more direct, more practical, less verbose. They want the money quickly, with minimal risk. This note and its signature scream the opposite. They scream complexity, a desire to create a story, a narrative. Think about the psychological profile of someone who would write Foreign Faction. Are they trying to intimidate? Of course. Are they trying to mislead? Absolutely. But are they also trying to sound intelligent, or powerful, or sophisticated? Perhaps. It could be someone who has a limited understanding of how such groups operate but has been exposed to them through media. Someone who wants to project an image of a powerful, organized threat, even if they are, in reality, acting alone or are part of a very small amateur group. The fact that Foreign Faction is a signature, almost like a brand, is also telling. It's not just a passing reference, it's how the group identifies itself. This deliberate branding suggests a certain self-awareness on the part of the writer, a desire to leave a specific impression. They want you to remember Foreign Faction. They want you to believe in it. And for many, it worked, at least initially. It sent investigators scrambling to consider international angles, wasting valuable time and resources that might have been better spent looking closer to home. Let's consider the two main theories of the case, the intruder theory and the family theory. How does Foreign Faction play into each? If an intruder wrote the note, then Foreign Faction is a very deliberate attempt to mislead. It's a masterful piece of misdirection. The intruder would be trying to make it seem like a professional kidnapping, carried out by a sophisticated, unknown group. They would want to deflect suspicion away from themselves, especially if they were someone known to the family or someone local. By creating this elaborate backstory, they would hope to confuse the police, delay the investigation, and buy themselves time. In this scenario, Foreign Faction is a lie, a carefully chosen piece of fiction designed to protect the true culprit. It's a psychological weapon, but what if a family member wrote it? This is where it gets even more complex, and for many, more chilling. If Patsy Ramsey, for example, wrote the note, then Foreign Faction takes on a whole new layer of meaning. It would be an attempt to fabricate an intruder scenario. Why would she choose such a phrase? Perhaps to suggest a sophisticated external enemy that had nothing to do with the family. It would be a desperate attempt to frame someone else, anyone else, and to make the death look like a botched kidnapping by professional criminals rather than an accident or crime committed by someone within the home. If a family member wrote it, the choice of Foreign Faction could also reflect a deeper psychological state. It could be a projection of fear or an attempt to externalize guilt. It could be a phrase that sounded menacing and convincing to them in a moment of panic and desperation. It wouldn't necessarily be about creating a perfectly logical criminal narrative, but about creating any narrative that points away from themselves. The words might not have been fully thought through for their logical consistency, but for their immediate impact, it wasn't us. It was some scary, unknown group. And this brings us back to the overall tone of the note. It's so theatrical, so over the top. The threats, the demands, the specific instructions: do not contact anyone. We will be watching you. It's all very cinematic. Foreign Faction fits right into that narrative. It's a grand finale to a grand performance. It's not subtle, it's not understated. It's meant to grab attention and create a lasting impression of power and menace. Let's think about the practical implications of such a signature. For investigators, it's a huge hurdle. Do you commit resources to looking for an international terrorist group when there's no other evidence of their presence? Or do you treat it as a deliberate fabrication? It forces a difficult choice. Early in the investigation, law enforcement did have to consider all possibilities. They couldn't immediately dismiss Foreign Faction as pure fiction. They had to explore the possibility, however remote, that it pointed to a real threat. This exploration would have undoubtedly led to dead ends, consuming valuable time and resources. It's a very effective way to derail an investigation. The lack of any follow-up from Foreign Faction is perhaps the strongest argument against it being a real group. If they were serious, if they truly had JonBenét, they would have called. They would have given instructions. They would have attempted to collect the money. But nothing happened. The phone lines were quiet. The briefcase with the money sat untouched. This silence speaks volumes. It suggests that Foreign Faction was purely a construct of the note, an imagined entity that ceased to exist once the note was written and the crime was discovered. Some people have tried to search for the phrase Foreign Faction in popular culture or news from the time. Was it a term commonly used? Was it from a specific movie, book, or news report that the author might have seen or heard? This kind of linguistic detective work is crucial. If the phrase could be traced to a specific source, it might give clues about the author's background, their interests, or what they were exposed to. But As far as publicly known information goes, no definitive source for foreign faction has ever been pinpointed, making its origin as mysterious as the author themselves. It doesn't seem to be a common idiom or a widely recognized name of a specific group. It feels almost generic, yet specific enough to sound important. And what about Pete? Or is it something else entirely? Many theories exist about SBTC, that it stands for Serve by the Code, or Santa Barbara Tennis Club, or even Souls Blessed to Come. It's another layer of enigma. If SBTC is indeed the name of the foreign faction, it doesn't really clarify things. It just adds another acronym to decipher, another puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit the broader picture of a ransom plot. The proximity of the two phrases suggests a connection, but the nature of that connection is totally unclear. It adds to the sense that the author was creating a world of their own, full of specific yet ultimately meaningless details. The sheer audacity of the signature is striking. To commit such a horrific act and then sign it with foreign faction shows a certain bravado or perhaps a profound disconnect from reality. It's not the signature of a scared, remorseful individual. It's the signature of someone trying to project power, control, and a sense of otherness. It's a statement of identity, even if that identity is a fabricated one. Think about how this signature has impacted the public's perception of the case. It added to the sensationalism, it fueled conspiracy theories, it made the case seem even more dramatic, more movie-like. It allowed people to imagine all sorts of scenarios, from elaborate criminal plots to government cover-ups. Foreign faction became a symbol of the unknown, the dark forces that could be at play. It contributed to the almost mythical status of the JonBenét Ramsey case, making it feel less like a straightforward crime and more like a riddle wrapped in an enigma. And for the Ramsey family, imagine reading that. To be told that foreign faction has taken your child. The terror, the confusion, the feeling of helplessness against an unseen powerful enemy. It was designed to maximize their fear and compliance, but also to leave them utterly bewildered. It adds to the psychological torment inflicted by the note itself. The police, of course, couldn't just dismiss it. They had to investigate the possibility of organized crime, of international ties. They would have contacted federal agencies, explored databases, looked for any intelligence that might match the description. This process itself is incredibly draining and time-consuming. It diverts focus from more probable lines of inquiry. This is precisely why such misdirection is used by criminals. It creates fog. It obscures the truth. Over time, as no evidence of a real foreign faction ever emerged, the phrase became more and more associated with the idea of a hoax, a fabrication. It became a key piece of evidence for those who believed the note was written by someone connected to the family, specifically to mislead. It seemed too elaborate, too theatrical, too inconsistent with the actual events to be the work of a genuine professional criminal organization. The very theatricality of foreign faction began to work against the idea of an external professional intruder. So, in essence, foreign faction means different things depending on your perspective. To the writer, it might have meant power, mystery, a way to control the narrative. To the victims, it meant terror and confusion. To the police, it meant a perplexing lead that eventually pointed to its own unreality. To the public, it became a symbol of the enduring mystery of the case. The simplicity of the phrase itself, just two common words put together, belies the massive ripple effect it had on the entire investigation. It's not a complicated code. It's not a secret language, it's plain English. But its meaning, its intent, is deeply buried under layers of potential deception and psychological manipulation. It's also worth noting the emotional impact. The words are cold, detached. They speak of an organization, not an individual with personal grievances. This impersonal nature further pushes the narrative away from a crime of passion or a spontaneous act, and towards something more calculated and planned, even if the planning was amateurish. The absence of emotion in the signature, despite the emotionally charged nature of the crime, is another unsettling detail. It suggests a certain distance, a certain control, or perhaps a desperate attempt to appear in control. So, what is the meaning of foreign faction in the JonBenét ransom note? It's not a simple answer. It's a complex, multi-layered puzzle piece that offers no easy solutions. It is, perhaps, the ultimate red herring, designed to send everyone down a rabbit hole. It's a deliberate misdirection, meant to confuse and mislead the authorities, to create the illusion of a sophisticated external enemy. Whether it was written by an intruder attempting to conceal their identity, or by a family member attempting to fabricate a kidnapping scenario, its purpose was the same: to obscure the truth and complicate the investigation. Foreign faction stands as a testament to the enduring mystery of the JonBenét Ramsey case. It's a pair of words that carries immense weight, but ultimately leads to more questions than answers. it remains one of the most enigmatic elements of a truly baffling crime, a signature that continues to haunt those who seek to understand what truly happened that night. Its true meaning lies not in who Foreign Faction actually is, but in what the author wanted everyone to believe Foreign Faction was. And that, like so much else in this case, remains locked in the shadows.